What's up, guys? Welcome back into the March into March. Well, Larson, I did a lot of bragging about how good my bracket was last year, and this year it has not been the case. I didn't pull the right levers with the upsets. Surprisingly, still a decent Sweet 16. Really good looking Elite Eight, so I'm okay with
Nice.
that. At least for now, I guess. I felt pretty good about this bracket, and that's probably when I should have known that it wasn't going to be any good. But I hope you've had a lot better luck than I have.
No, I really haven't actually. This has been like the worst bracket I've ever done. But this was the year for that because it was always UConn and Houston, and then after that, it's just anyone can beat anybody. Um,
This is the year of the square. All the favorites have
so
won. All the
yeah,
favorites have been killing it.
that's the crazy part. I did see a funny tweet though. Someone was like, after a season full of upsets, it's only right that all of the favorites and high seeds
Yeah,
make it. Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. But it's a very good Sweet 16 we have. I thought the tournament got a little lame at some times, but they kept you honest with some games and some buzzer beaters, and I mean, yeah,
I felt bad. One of my buddies, he told me he was like March is like a first 2 days merchant. And I was like, shut up. And then the next couple games, I was like, man, these aren't that great. The Saturday Sunday games. I guess if we want to start with the East, this bracket is almost chalk. The only big surprise we really had was Auburn losing to Yale. Auburn just completely blew that game, missing multiple free throws. Katie Johnson was
yeah,
was the zero of that effort. Auburn just Chad Baker Mazzara getting ejected 3 minutes into the game was really that sealed their fate.
yeah. Bad tone to set. And we kind of thought Yale. I mean, we talked about Yale was maybe
Like
fraudulent because
Princeton light.
yeah, Princeton like fraudulent based on who they had played. I mean, and they made every big shot, and guess what? They made free throws, and it's funny that the team that made free throws won. And it was funny that Katie Johnson was the one taking the last shot in a loss, but
Yeah,
here he is now in the transfer portal. So
yeah, and then of course they just get smushed by San Diego State. I don't know if Auburn would have beat San Diego State. They've looked decent so far, but we're not going to get that Auburn UConn matchup we thought we were going to get.
yeah,
Out of the East too, in the bottom half of that bracket, Duquesne beating BYU really set the tone for how bad this tournament was going to be for me. I had BYU winning 2 games.
yeah,
So I knew that was the risk. We talked about this BYU team and how all year they've been a team that just basically, if they don't shoot well, they don't do anything else. Like really, they take the
yeah,
highest rate of threes in the country. They shoot at an average rate, and if they're below that average rate, they're probably going to lose. I
yeah.
took that risk. They shot extremely poorly, and Duquesne had a little momentum, had a little storyline on their side, and they got the win. So, there were a
Duquesne
couple. Oh, go ahead.
Duquesne defended really well in that game too, which was
They
the
did.
one thing that as you looked at kind of their numbers and their metrics, you were like, this team actually defensively is not that bad. And like you said, it's all about threes for BYU. That's the risk we were taking. So credit to Duquesne though, and then they get blasted by Illinois, who I felt really great about Moorhead for the first like 25 minutes of the game. I mean, Moorhead
Yeah,
was right there with them and just couldn't get it done. Maybe a trend for next year when we like these big underdogs. Let's take them full game and first half. I think that needs to happen
there were
because
so many
a
competitive games
lot.
first half that just did not finish competitive at all. I
Yeah,
mean, even like UNC, Michigan State in the second round.
yeah,
But I think the biggest loser here in terms of the wannabe sharp is probably Drake. Darren DeVries apparently may have had a foot out the door. We see he takes the West Virginia job pretty shortly after that loss. The Suns following him. It is what it is at that point. Iowa State is really bucking the trend of teams that have not been ranked preseason doing well in the tournament. They typically
yeah,
don't make it to the second weekend. And I
yeah.
think Iowa has a great shot to beat Illinois and move on.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. That's a great game. I'm very excited for that game. Two completely different styles. And Drake, back to Drake. Poor Drake. It went exactly like it did last year,
Exactly
where
like
you're
last year.
you're in the game and you have the lead late. Uh, I don't think DeVries was that good. He looked a little scared. He passed up a lot of big shots at the end. It's like, dude, you need to be the one taking these. You're the guy. And yeah, just for that to happen again, it's just Groundhog Day with Drake. So maybe Drake's a first half bet next year, and then you fade them. I don't know, but that for that
If
to
they
happen
make
2 years in a
it.
row is crazy. And we haven't even mentioned the one other point that I had was like, what do we make of these last 2 years from Florida Atlantic? Because you had as great of a run as last year was, and as unexpected as it was, and how
You
cool
also got
it was.
historically very lucky the fact that you played Fairleigh Dickinson and not Purdue.
Yeah, well, they were lucky to beat, Memphis in the first round. I mean, you're a bounce of the ball away from not making it at all, and then you have Fairleigh Dickinson, and as great as last year was, now this year was almost just as inconsistent. I mean, we had no idea what to get, and they kind of just wet themselves at the end of this Northwestern game, where I was already pissed off at the beginning because we came on here and we said Florida Atlantic should win because I don't know who in the world is going to guard Golden down low. I mean, he towers over everybody. And he didn't even get a look for the first half. They weren't even looking at him. I'm like, this is the one advantage that you have. They finally went to him. We started producing some good things, some free throws and whatnot. But I don't know. What a weird, high, eventful, and 2 years for FAU. Dusty May's on to Michigan now,
I think if I was
crazy in
Michigan, I would
itself.
not be like super excited about that hire. He's kind of has a little smell to him that I don't know if I trust just yet. He did have a good run. I thought it was cool
Yeah,
that all those players stayed and nobody left. I thought that was really
yeah,
awesome. But it's pretty clear that the magic ran out on these guys. Boo Booey was I think we said that on here. We were like, it's either going to be the Boo Booey show or Florida Atlantic should roll.
yeah,
And we got the former. So
yeah.
I think all in all, this bracket had a pretty high chance of going chalk. I would have had Auburn
Right.
over San Diego State probably, but that's not where we're going. I think Auburn's going to crush San Diego State. Man, Iowa State, Illinois. I don't have a read on that game. Illinois is they're playing really well. They have three really good players. I mean, obviously Terrence Shannon Jr. I think I said this on the last one, but without those accusations, I think he could be a top 5 pick in the draft. The kid is that good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the
But
offense for Illinois is flying around. We'll see if they can overcome the probably the best defense in the country. Like you said, UConn should handle San Diego State. This UConn team is on a different level, a different planet right now. So heads and shoulders
yeah,
above everybody.
yeah. Moving on to the South, I'm going to pat myself on the back. The top half of the quadrant, I got perfect.
Okay.
I had
Okay.
Duke, James Madison,
Yeah.
A&M, Houston, and then Houston and Duke. So I actually got that one perfect, picking the 1 and 4 seeds. That's about the only thing that I did right on here, but I did get this one perfect. I think if you really want to bring anything up, James Madison, I think that was the big winner for the squares. That was the big square underdog pick.
Yeah.
And they played really well. Wisconsin, we talked about it. Wisconsin all season is not a team that has been worthy of trusting, and that's why I think at the last minute I'd hopped on JMU. But I didn't have them going past Duke. Duke absolutely embarrasses them. And I think Duke has a decent chance against Houston. If Houston gets in foul trouble like they did against A&M, I think it's really going to be a dicey situation for them. I think that's kind of what happened last year when they lost to Miami as well.
Yeah, that is true. I try to figure out Duke because Duke made a lot of shots in that James Madison game. They looked great. I mean, Jared McCain was on fire. They made just a ton of shots. I'm trying to figure out, has Duke turned a corner, or was that just kind of
A good shooting
a
night.
good shooting night against a team that had kind of won their Super Bowl the day before or 2 days before? James Madison, the thing that surprised me about them is someone who had Wisconsin. I had all the 5 seeds, but James Madison came out and just absolutely kind of punked them and pushed them around. Like James Madison was way more physical than Wisconsin. Like it took Wisconsin some time to wake up. But it was a very good performance by James Madison. Terrence Edwards in the portal. Someone's going to get a very good guard with him. Throw some money at him.
I
The
want to say
coach,
congrats to Coach Bai when I worked at Georgia
yeah,
Southern in the athletic department. Great guy. I like Coach Bai. I hope
on
he
to
does good things with Navy.
Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
happy for
good,
Coach Bai.
good hire. I think there you take a hot mid-major coach. So that was cool. And then the second round there was really carried by Houston A&M from that side of the bracket. We got to talk about Golke. It was Golke mania.
Jack Golke deserved a little more time in this tournament. I'm going to go ahead and say.
He
I
did.
wish they had won, but I mean DJ Burns is kind of in the same boat. But Jack Golke's
Yeah.
awesome, man. He is like the just the perfect March player.
Yeah.
He's kind of goofy looking. He looks like a guy you would work across from the cubicle. But he just comes out and absolutely starts raining down threes. Cannot miss. I mean, Kentucky, first round picks in his face. Absolutely drilling him. I didn't know this either. Apparently, before the game, he said that Oakland was a better shooting team than Kentucky. And apparently, Kentucky fans took like a lot of offense to that. And then he comes out and punks
I did
them.
not know that. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know it either. Somebody told me today. Absolutely punks him. I love Jack Golke. I'm glad to see he capitalized on his opportunity too. I saw him doing a few marketing deals. He's got like 50K on it.
My take. I mean, he's covering all the bases.
Exactly. Yeah, good for him. I'm happy for him. But Kentucky, man, we should actually probably mention we kind of buried the lead on that. Um, man, Kentucky, absolute massive disappointment, just complete disgrace. John Calipari is coming back next year. I think if his buyout wasn't so large, they absolutely would have canned him for that. It's just that type of season for them where they were streaky all year. And I think we said either they're going to make a Final Four run or they're going to get knocked out in the first round. And we saw what happened. Just didn't really have a game plan. Something I've noticed too is when they run an inbounds play, they kind of run the same thing a lot. I don't
Oh
know if
yeah,
it's a pride thing with Calipari, but they run that one same
probably.
play. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not sold on the future of Kentucky basketball. I think they've kind of become complacent. Like Calipari has done like nothing to adjust to. Like this is not a game for a
Yeah.
freshman anymore.
He's
I
too
think that's
stubborn. He's just too stubborn to change, and he's been that way for a few years now. And I tweeted, and I was 100% serious. Like, you can't view them as the same serious program that we know Kentucky basketball to be if he is the coach right now. You can't. It's just not the same. I personally am stunned that they would even think about bringing him back. I don't understand what is he. He's 1-3 in tournaments now. Tournament game. I mean, they've won one tournament game, and I think the past four tournaments like that cannot stand. At
someone said
Kentucky,
something about them getting a little Indiana-ish, and I was like, oh, that's a
I mean, they're going to keep running this back now. I'm sure the buyout had, like you said, a huge thing to do with it. I can't believe though that somebody that Kentucky basketball, a proud program, as we like to say, a proud program. You're not just going to nut up and pay that in this day and age of college sports where the money is huge. I mean, go
one
be
one one defense I will make of them.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know who you get.
Is you don't know that what?
I don't know who you get to replace him this year. Like
Well, I mean,
Rick
it's going to be
Pitino.
a crazy call Patino. I mean, it
Again.
could be a crazy coaching carousel, and you are going to be the top dog. Everyone's going to want that job. It feels like the right move, unless they really just must have not felt, I guess, comfortable with who was available. But now
Maybe they called Nate Oates and he said no. I don't know, but
Bruce Pearl was getting floated out there a lot.
that would be very funny.
You've got to have someone in mind though. I mean, you have to sit there and have a list now of next year. I mean, obviously is the year where you have to see the results, but I just don't know if he can change. And next year, like, how do we know they're going to fulfill their full potential? They're probably not, because that's what we've seen. But I'm stunned that he's back. I really am.
Yeah, and I had a tough time with his bottom half of the bracket. I made a big deal on here. I was like, is Warren Washington going to play for Texas Tech? Well, he did play, and they still got their asses kicked.
Yeah.
And that was the
Yeah.
team that I had going to the Sweet 16. So that was tough for me. Colorado and Florida.
Great
I knew I had to pick a 10 seed. That's probably the best game of the tournament so far.
Yeah.
Walter Clayton was awesome. That game could have gone either way. But Colorado shows up the next round. They give Marquette an okay game. It was pretty decent. Marquette's another team that got a scare early. Western Kentucky, I think, was leading them at half. But they've ever since that first half, they've looked fantastic. I think they've really settled in. And Marquette's a team that I really didn't believe in going into the tournament. The numbers said I should have believed in them. I did place a future on them. And they look like a team that could actually do something. I think if they beat NC State, which they very much should, I think they're 7-point favorites. Then you maybe play Duke or Houston. You're right in line for a Final Four trip.
Yeah. Kolek is just incredible. I mean, Kolek is there's kind of some Jokic parallels almost from the NBA.
He
Like,
slows down the game a lot.
he slows it down, and he's just in that Colorado game too. It was so fun to watch. Like, they shot, I don't know what it was. It was like 70% in the first half, 65%. And you would look at that and you would say, well, that can't continue. They can't keep shooting that hot. Every shot they got was like a wide open three, or like a roll at the rim, like a layup at the rim. I mean, they got amazing shots. That's just the Kolek factor. That's how good he is. He's probably he's got to be he's the best point guard left for sure. He's one of the best point guards in the country. But Marquette, I never felt like Marquette was going to lose that Colorado game up by one with 30 seconds. I was just like, Marquette's going to win. Yeah.
Yeah, they just felt in control the whole time. I think that sums it up. If you want to, actually, you know what? Let's give NC State some credit because we didn't really consider them. I love DJ Burns. I think he's awesome. I got to give him credit, but history says you're supposed to be wary of these teams that go on these huge runs in these conference tournaments. Like, maybe they win a game or two, but they're not supposed to make it this far, and they buck the trend. And it's the same thing with Iowa State. That's something that really just doesn't happen all that often. So good for them.
This is just the weird tournament. Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely think they have a chance against Marquette. I mean, they should. Marquette should win, obviously, but I'm not going to count them out at this point.
Yeah.
And well, let's go Midwest first. Utah State and TCU. That was maybe the most forgettable game of this entire tournament.
Yeah.
It's
It
up
was late
there.
at night. When did it start? Like
Yeah,
11 o'clock Eastern?
yeah. Utah State just got absolutely pantsed by Purdue. That was maybe the worst game of the week. Well, actually, no, it was close to the first half.
Yeah, they kept it close for about 12 minutes. Purdue just, I mean, that's just what happens when you don't have enough size for Edie. And they're going to play. I really think Gonzaga can give them a run
I
because
think
it's just
Gonzaga's going to
funny.
win. I know I
Yeah,
hate
I
Purdue.
really
I know I
do.
hate Purdue. I get it, but they're playing really
Yeah,
well, and I think Ryan Nimhard is. You talk about best point guards left in the tournament. Ryan Nimhard absolutely has to be considered for that too. I mean,
yeah. No,
he's.
Nimhard's amazing. He's great for them, and EK's been amazing for them. If EK, it's gonna be a tough matchup there. Gonzaga's bigs have been playing really well though this whole tournament. And
I
look,
mean,
I
they
got
they took a belt. They took a belt to Kansas's ass. That was not
yeah.
something. I mean, Kansas was out of gas at that point. That's kind of why I picked Stanford to beat them. One of the main reasons. I do think Kansas is going to be fantastic next year. We've had this conversation about Kansas. I think
Can
it
you
goes
play
maybe.
more than 6 players next year, Bill Self? That's what needs to be the main objective.
It was the stat about Kansas returning 4 starters. When Bill Self returns 4 starters, he's done it like 5 times. 3 times he's been the number one overall seed in the tournament, and 2 times he's won a title.
Yeah, and
So
we saw
Kansas
that.
will be very good next year, but
Yeah,
they're out of gas. They're out of gas.
we
Straightforward,
saw that
plain and
last year
simple.
with Kansas too. They lost second round, but they were, a number one seed. And for all that we got wrong, we got a lot wrong, like we said. I mean, we couldn't have been more spot on. At least me with Gonzaga McNeese. I called that
McNeese,
T. And
yeah,
then
we
Gonzaga
we
Kansas the next day. The next day we said the same thing. Gonzaga's going to roll them.
yeah, I had Sanford at that point, but I did entertain the
Cooper
idea of
got
Gonzaga
hosed.
making it. Yeah, Sanford did get cheated. We got robbed of
Absolutely.
more buckyball. We did maintain though that this is probably going to be one of Gonzaga's best chances because nobody's paying attention to them, and I think
Yeah.
that's really how they need to approach this. I certainly think Gonzaga. I bet on Gonzaga. I certainly think they have a good chance to win this game with the way they're shooting. If they play like they did against Kansas, they should win. But Purdue's been playing good ball. Can't deny it.
Mark
As much
Mark
as I hate to
Few,
say it.
sneaky good tournament coach. Mark Few. The numbers are incredible. He's really good in March.
He's really in the driver's seat. So
Yeah.
anyways, Oregon and South Carolina. I think we called that one to a T. That was probably our
Yeah.
biggest our shot call. We come away more of a competitive. It was one of those weirdly like not super competitive games that kind of felt close. It never like got
Yeah.
super out of hand. But Oregon moves on. I did think when they played Creighton, I kind of favored Creighton. They did go into overtime, at least. But
Yeah, don't let the final score of that game fool you because I had mentioned that Creighton and Oregon matched up. They were very similar to each other in terms of the builds of their team. Um, and I mean that game it went to double overtime. They played to a draw to a second overtime, and then Oregon missed everything, and Creighton just got hot and pulled away. But that was a great game. Oregon, I got everything that I could have expected from Oregon when I said that I think they were Final Four good. And Dante through those two games was absolutely incredible. He was so good. So I got my
well,
money's worth.
yeah, and I talk about my Elite Eight still being somewhat intact. I do have Houston and Marquette in the I think that's the South, and then in the Midwest I have Creighton over Purdue. So I've still got all 4 teams in
Yeah,
play here. So
I still like Creighton a lot.
as bad as my picks have been, I did have some success in this bracket. I did have Texas over Colorado State. I did have Texas beating Tennessee, which was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. I thought
Yeah,
Texas could rough them up defensively a little bit. They kind of did. They just didn't shoot worth a damn either. So that was really the problem there. I still like Creighton over Tennessee. I think I would probably pick Gonzaga at this point if I could change my bracket. I obviously cannot. And then I would probably take Creighton over Gonzaga. But I think this one's shaping up to be fun. I think no matter what matchup we get, I mean, we did get a 2-3, a 1, and a 5. I
yeah.
think no matter what matchups we get, it should be pretty entertaining.
I love those two games from that region too. Will be a
Yeah.
lot of fun tomorrow and Friday.
Yeah, too bad one of them starts at 10 o'clock. Um, so this is probably my least successful region, and I think it was going to be everybody's least successful region.
Yeah,
Look, New Mexico, I'm done with the Mountain West. If I get on this show next year and I say that I'm picking a Mountain West team to make a run, I want you to punch me in the eye because I'm not doing it again. I can't. I can't do this anymore with the Mountain West. They piss me off. So Clemson, credit to Clemson, by the way, they played well. New Mexico obviously just doesn't even come close to getting it done. I mean, they get beat by like I think 12 or something, maybe even more than that, maybe 21, something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
They just get absolutely smoked. Nevada loses to Dayton on one of the most inexplicable losses you'll ever see in college basketball. And then other than that, the Mountain West, once again, the Mountain West besides San Diego State is bowed out of this tournament very early.
Did you have New Mexico, Nevada in the the Sweet 16, or was that just me? I thought Nevada could give Arizona a real run.
No, I had Arizona. I had Arizona over
Get Arizona.
Nevada. So
So
thankfully, once again, I still have one of my Elite Eight picks in here because I still have. Oh no, I don't because I had New Mexico coming out of there. So I have no picks in this region.
here's the stat. Here's the stat here. It was before the tournament. It was since 2016 in play-in games or the round of 64. The Mountain West teams were 2-14. The one of those wins being obviously San Diego State last year when they went on their run. They are now play-in games or round of 64. Since 2016, they're 5-18 because Nevada blew it. Colorado State scored how many points? 11 in the first half, I think. And New Mexico was just bad. So I totally agree with you. We have to be off the Mountain West because this was the year. We said it. This was the year. This is where you show all the haters, put all the doubters.
You got
away,
6 teams. The Big East only got 3.
It's a great, the conference has never been better, and they absolutely let us down. So
just absolutely embarrassed. I had some tough reads on this. I was flip flopping on this region. You talked me into St. Mary's, which I'm not going to blame you for.
No, I mean, look, I'll say it. I love St. Mary's, and it's one of those things. If I went back and did it again, like I would still love St. Mary's because everything on paper told me that they were perfect.
Well, Grand Canyon's a fake.
And Grand Canyon came out. Credit to Grand Canyon because I didn't know that they were the 04 Pistons defensively. I mean, they absolutely made St. Mary's work for everything. And Grand Canyon was really good. And I watched the game and I was like, well, damn, that sucks. But Grand Canyon was a lot better. So
yeah, and one thing I could take solace in, I was never picking Alabama to win 2 games. Wasn't doing it. Don't care who they were playing. That was my whole mindset. Is like I don't think Alabama's going to go this far. And if you watch that Grand Canyon game, if they played anybody with a pulse, if they had played St. Mary's, they probably wouldn't have. They looked horrendous that game. I think North Carolina's probably going to walk all over them. We'll see though. North Carolina, obviously, I did see some poor guy. He said it was he had Michigan State raced to 30. It was 28-11, and then he didn't win the bet.
That's brutal. That is horrible. That's an all timer.
Yeah, I would have been losing it. But we were kind of correcting that assumption. The Mississippi State, Michigan State, Mississippi State looked pretty anemic on offense. They might have strapped up North Carolina, but they wouldn't have scored enough to beat them anyways. Yeah. Charleston, they gave a valiant effort. We kind of called that. I did have the over in that game. I was going to say
that game went as expected from a points perspective.
Yeah, Alabama wins by 13. The over goes over by 30 points.
Yeah.
And then like we said, Clemson against Baylor. I didn't think Clemson was going to give Baylor that much hell. Baylor obviously has had turnover problems all year, so that can't be too shocked that they're out of the tournament already. But other than that, Long Beach State gave Arizona a little bit of a scare. But Arizona, Clemson, man, I'm good on betting that one. I really don't know how that one's going to go.
Clemson's finding their form. I mean, Brad Brownell, he's I don't think he's been in this position before with Clemson. I don't remember Clemson ever going this far, but they're a team that's kind of gelling at the right time. And Chase Hunter's playing well, and you've got that Sheffrin, I think is his name, who has just come on really strong in the tournament. And then PJ Hall and Girard have been really good. That's a tough game to look at. And it really sucks for us because we bet Clemson in the wrong tournament. We took Clemson in the ACC tournament where they bowed out. And I was like, I'm just so over this team. I just don't know what do they bring to the table that's going to, give them a run over someone like Baylor. And they've completely turned it around. They're playing great. I still think, Arizona's cream of the crop in terms of what you're going to play in this region, because Arizona, you can make a case Arizona's the best team in the region, really.
They're just so liable to drop a stinker at any time.
They are.
I know they're dying to. I know they're dying to lay an egg out there, and I don't know if they're going to do it this week or not.
All it takes is a few Caleb Love misses, and you're there.
Yeah, my prediction. I'm going to say North Carolina beats Alabama. I don't think Alabama is playing that great right now. They played a 13 and a 12. A 13 they matched up really well with, and a 12 they matched up really well with. I think North Carolina is going to kind of impose a little bit of authority on them, something that has not happened so far.
Yeah.
And man, if they don't hold on to the ball, I mean, oh my gosh, that Grand Canyon game was ridiculous. It looked like they were playing with a greased
Yeah.
up beach ball. And then I'll go with Arizona, and I'll say North Carolina over Arizona, the one over the two,
Yeah.
which is so lame. But if you had just done this whole tournament, you'd probably have like a top 85%
This is
bracket.
yeah, no, this is what it is. I mean, it's chalk, and you could get a lot of 1-2s, and that's going to happen. Someone pointed out on Twitter that I thought was a really good comparison. It was
19.
2019, where you had kind of chalk like this all the way till Sweet 16.
And we got a great finals because
Yeah,
it was the
everyone
year
was like, "Oh, it's
Auburn
going to be
played
chalk."
Virginia.
Yeah, everyone said one and two seeds are going to win, and then it was total chaos after that. So I mean, you never know, but it's not surprising. Really,
Yeah,
I would
when
be
Texas Tech like a 5 seed, they played Virginia.
Texas Tech, yeah, 5 seed. Auburn
Maybe
was,
Auburn
uh,
was like a 3 or 4,
I can't
maybe.
remember, something like that. Yeah, that was a great tournament though. That was a really great
It
tournament.
was. That was in Auburn whenever they thought they beat Virginia, and then they ran out and rolled tumors, and they had to announce that shot didn't count, or there was a
Yeah,
foul. I don't even remember the call. I just remember it was so funny.
yeah, that
Um,
was a great game too.
yeah, you want to empty the notebook? You got anything left?
The one thing I have left, which was the big bullet point that I had kind of saved through all of this, was just the question of actually how good is UConn? Because we've talked about this team is amazing, and we just haven't seen defending champs do this, which we mentioned in some of the other pods we did. So, to be a broken record, but this team, I mean, just to be a defending champ, they returned a bulk of their guys, but they've just been incredible. And I went through like the last 11-ish years, right? Have we seen somebody or some team do this, win a championship, come back and basically be the same level or better? We really haven't. There have been two cases. You had like the first Nova team that won a championship in 2016. They were a 2 seed. They came back like this UConn team. They returned a bulk of the guys, Jalen Brunson and guys like that, Josh Hart, and they went 32-4. They were a 1 seed, and they were bound for the Final Four. Everybody said it, and they got upset by Wisconsin in the second round. But that's a great example of a team that was kind of at that level. And then you could actually kind of say Kansas in 2022 when they won. They came back the next year. They had a slightly worse record, but they were a 1 seed and they lost to Arkansas in the second round. Those are really the only two cases you could think of a team coming back from a championship and being as good. UConn, the stat I mentioned, I was going to try to save it for this, but I had to text it in our group the other day. So like UConn last year, they came in as a 4 seed. They were 31-8. We picked them to win because they were hot, right? But why? But you would look back and say, why are they a 4 seed? They struggled in Big East play at the beginning. They lost 5 out of 7 games, and everyone kind of said, we're done with UConn. They're done. But after that loss, they lost to Xavier. They lost 5 and 7 games. Since then, January 26, 2023, they lost. Since then, they are 48-5 is their record. 48-5. And the losses are twice at Creighton, lost to Marquette in the Big East tournament. They lost at Kansas by 4 this season, and they lost at Seton Hall.
Seton Hall, yeah.
That's it. But 48-5 and over a calendar year is incredible. And this team, they returned the guys. I don't think it's that much of a question. I think that they are significantly, I would say significantly, they are better than last year's team. They are a better team than last year's team. And I just don't know. I just don't know how you beat this team.
And you look at the path too. All due respect to San Diego State, this is a team they smushed last year in the national championship. That I don't think is as good as that team from last year.
San Diego State is worse, and UConn is better. Yeah.
Yeah, Illinois, Iowa State, both flawed in their own ways. The Illinois defensively, they both have some firepower. I think they could both give them a good game. And then you look, and then it's like, all right, well, you're in the Final Four. You're going to be playing a good team at that point, whether it be in Arizona or North Carolina. But what if it's a Clemson or an Alabama? Ooh, yeah. I think they're going to do dastardly things to them at that point. And then you look at the other side of the bracket. Yeah, Houston's there lurking, Duke's there. What if you end up with a Marquette or a Creighton? You know these teams. What if you end up with Purdue?
Yeah.
I think they would slaughter Purdue. No questions asked.
Yeah.
But that's getting the cart before the horse. I think this is gonna be an exciting end to the tournament. I hope so. We've had a lot of blowouts. I'm kind of getting tired of them, but we really. I can't believe we've gone this long without talking about it. The most important part of any tournament that's been going on so far is that the dogs are in the semifinals for the NIT. So.
I did have that written. I was going to mention it. How big is that for us?
Hey, double-digit dogs on the road twice, 2 wins. Wake Forest handed in their second loss at home this year, going into Columbus and beating Ohio State. And I think a Georgia Indiana State NIT final would be so much fun. Nobody would be cheering for us, like actually nobody. But I don't think anybody
Yeah.
would be watching, so I guess it doesn't
No,
matter.
that would be awesome, and it's just huge. I mean, we're seeing all these guys, your Riley Kugel and Michi Johnson. We're saying like, I don't know how if those guys are leaving, how do we keep our guys? How do you keep Silas and Blue Cane? I will be distraught if we lost them. I would be devastated. We
I
got
can't
to
say
keep
I'd be
them.
surprised. I can't say I'd be surprised. I don't know. Maybe if we win the NIT, they'll want to stick
You
around.
can't leave it. Yeah, a tournament winning program.
Yeah, but no, there's some good teams like VCU, Utah, Indiana State, and hell, who are the other two that are
Seton
playing?
Hall tonight too.
Seton Hall. Yeah, Seton Hall plays. Who do they play? I know it's Utah, VCU, and Seton Hall, and somebody else. Anyways, dogs are winning the NIT. That's the most important takeaway from this
Yeah.
whole thing. Well, we appreciate y'all joining us. We might do something a little later. We'll see. We might come to and break down what we've seen. Maybe we'll do Elite Eight, Final Four, something like that. But thank you guys for joining us as always. We'll catch you next time.